ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9, Dhruva Mahārāja returns home. We are in the section 37 to 53, where Dhruva Mahārāja is going to be received. And now we have entered the section 54 to 64, where there is a huge description of the city and the palace. Right. So this is 54 to 64. Bhagavatam has really slowed down now. At how the city and palaces, they were decorated for reception of Dhruva. So we come to text 56. Yeah, text 56. Prakare gopuragare shatakumbha parichadaihi sarvato alankritam Śrīmad vimana shikharadhyubihi. Translation.
In the capital city, there were many palaces, city gates and surrounding walls, which were already very, very beautiful. And on this occasion, all of them were decorated with golden ornaments. The domes of the city palaces glittered, as did the domes of the beautiful airplanes which hovered over the city. Purport. Regarding the mention of the airplanes here, it is suggested by Śrīmad Vijayadhwaja Tirtha that on this occasion the demigods from higher planetary systems also came in their airplanes to bestow their blessings on Dhruva Maharaj on his arrival at the capital of his father. It also appears that all the domes of the city palaces as well as the pinnacles of the airplanes were decorated with ornamental work in gold, and being reflected by the sunshine, they were all glittering. We can observe a specific distinction between Dhruva Maharaja's time and modern days, for the airplanes in those days were made of gold, whereas at the present moment, airplanes are made of base aluminium. This just gives a hint of the opulence of Dhruva Maharaja's days and the poverty of modern times. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So now the description of city and the palaces, it continues. The capital city had many palaces. The city gates and the surrounding walls, extremely beautiful. They were all decorated with the golden ornaments. Now, this is something very amazing. The compound of the wall was decorated with gold and emerald. And it may sound as weird and as fantastic as it is, but if we read some descriptions of Chinese traveler Yuan Shuang and those in the 7th century or prior to the Mughal invasion of India, one can see something very similar descriptions. Okay, one can see some very similar descriptions how the Indian cities were decorated that time. You will be really surprised to know that India was so opulent, and these are not like some hyper nationalistic idea. These are the British gazetteers recordings. So the roads in the London were made by the money which was taken on credit by Indian saukars. So this is the recordings and that's why India was called as Sone ki Chidiya, and everybody was searching for India. Why Columbus searched for India, landed accidentally in America, and called the people Red Indians. So this is the opulence, and this opulence comes by the spiritual understanding. Right? The basis of material opulence is the spiritual understanding. So the city palaces were glittered, and as did the domes over which the beautiful aeroplanes hovered in the sky. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Srila Prabhupada quotes Vijayadhwaja Tirtha, and he's a South Indian Acharya, and he explains that this coronation was attended not only by the human beings but also by the demigods. Why? Because now Dhruva is going to be such a great personality that their planets are going to circumambulate Dhruva Loka, and therefore this palace, all the demigods, they appeared for this ceremony, return of Dhruva, and they were also extremely happy, and thus there one could see their aeroplanes. Prabhupada writes, one can see the stark difference between the modern day aeroplane and the aeroplane which was existed in the previous times. Right? We have heard of many aeroplanes in the previous times. Here we are hearing the aeroplanes made up of gold. In Ramayana, there is an elaborate description of the Pushpaka Viman. Right? So Prabhupada says the modern day aeroplanes, they are made up of the base aluminium, whereas those aeroplanes were made up of gold and even subtler substances like that. And this is the stark difference between the opulence of Dhruva Maharaj days and the poverty of the modern times. So this is the Lakshan of Kali Yuga. That Lakshan of Kali Yuga is that it is called as Iron Age for a reason. Why? Because as more and more we'll progress, the prosperity will diminish from the Vedic standards. Right. Text 57. Mrushtachatvararathyatamargam margam chandana charchitam lajakshatai pushpafalaihi tandulaihi balibhiyutam. Translation?
Translation: all the quadrangles, lanes, and streets in the city, and the raised sitting places at the crossings were thoroughly cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood water, and auspicious grains such as rice and barley, and flowers, fruits, and many other auspicious presentations were scattered all over the city. Hare Krishna.
So, very, very important part of auspicious decorations, right? So all the lanes Chaurahas on the streets, they were beautifully cleansed, thoroughly cleansed, and sprinkled with sandalwood water. And the grains such as rice, barley. So barley one can see here. Laja. Okay. So if you remember in the marriage, there is something called as a Laja home. Right? If you remember, there is a Laja home. It is. So that is a one very important ceremony in the marriage. Because Laja, this is the barley, is very important. And it has its own place along with flowers, fruits, and many other auspicious presentations scattered all over the city. So this is the scattering. Text 58, 59. Dhruvaya pati drishtaya tatra tatra purastriya siddharthakshadar dadhya ambu pushpa falani cha upajviya prayujyanam वात्सल्यादात् आशिषः सतिः शृण्वन्तत् वल्गुगीतानि प्राविशत् भवनं पितुः. Translation?
Thus, as Dhruva Maharaj passed on the road from every place in the neighborhood, all the gentle household ladies assembled to see him, and out of material affection, they offered their blessings, showering him with white mustard seed, barley, curd, water, newly grown grass, fruits and flowers. In this way, Dhruva Maharaj, while hearing the pleasing songs sung by the ladies, entered the palace of his father.
Extremely pleasing atmosphere, right? Dhruva is passing on the road, and all these satihi, all these very gentle ladies, they were Pirunvanti, Gayanti, they are singing about, they are glorifying, they are, they are showering mustard seeds, white mustard seeds, barley, curd, water, durva, all these pushpafalanicha, and they are very, very pleasing songs. This is being heard by text 60 now. Mahamani Vratamaye Tasmin Bhavottame Lalito Nitaram Pitra Nyavasat Dividevavat. Translation.
Dhruva Mahārāja thereafter lived in his father's palace, which had walls bedecked with the highly valuable jewels. His affectionate father took particular care of him, and he dwelled in that house, just as the demigods live in their palaces in the higher planetary systems. Thank you.
So now many years passed. Dhruva Maharaj thereafter lived in his father's palace, where the walls were bedecked with highly valuable jewels. But for Uttanapad, the most valuable jewel was Dhruva, and therefore Uttanapad took very special care of him. Just as he dwelled in that house, just as the demigod live in their palaces in higher planetary systems. Right? So this is how Dhruva. See, one response can change so much. One response in devotional service. This is very important thing, correct? One response in devotional service. And this is Dhruva's life. Text 61. Now there is a description of the palace. Now, he was maintained in the palace. So palace walls are being mentioned. And from next 4 verses, there is a description of the palace, how beautiful the palace was. Payapfena nibhashaya dantarukma parichidah asarani maharhani yatra raukma upaskara. Translation.
The bedding in the palace was as white as the foam of milk and was very soft. The bedsteads were made of ivory with embellishments of gold, and the chairs, benches, and other sitting places and furniture were made of gold. Hare Krishna.
So this is now the palace description. The bedding was as soft as the foam of the milk, and as white as the foam of the milk, and extremely soft. The bedsteads were ivory, and the chairs, they were made up of pure gold. So this is the description of the palace. So previously, even 200 years back, India, many people had their gold plates, silver plates in their houses. Now also some people have gold plates. Gold only pata nahi, silver plates people surely have. I know one devotee comes from a very royal family, and he, the way they are, he eats in a silver plate. His glass is the silver, he has a silver spoon and silver plate. And, so they come from that kind of a royalty. So they currently continue like this. Text 62. Yatra spatika kudeshu mahamarakateshu cha mani pradipa abanti Lalanaratna Sanyuta. Translation.
The palace of the king was surrounded by walls made of marble with many engravings made of valuable jewels like sapphires, which depicted beautiful women with shining jewel lamps in their hands. Purport. The description of King Uttanpada's palace depicts the state of affairs many hundreds and thousands of years ago, long before Śrīmad Bhāgavatam was compiled. Since it is described that Maharaj Dhruva ruled for 36,000 years, he must have lived in the Satya Yuga, when people lived for 100,000 years. The life duration in the 4 yugas are also mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Satya Yuga, people used to live for 100,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, people lived for 10,000 years. In Dwapar Yuga, they lived for 1,000 years. And in this age, Kali Yuga, people may live up to 100 years. With the progressive advance of each new yuga, the duration of human life is reduced by 90%, from 100,000 to 10,000, from 10,000 to 1,000, and from 1,000 to 100. It is said that Dhruva Maharaj
Long
was
purport, we'll divide into two sections. The palace walls were made up of marbles and made up with the valuable jewels with sapphires, and which depicted Lalana Ratna Sanyuta, beautiful women with the shining jewel lamps in their hands, and this was the Mani Pradipa Avanti. So this was the depiction on the walls. Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport, this is the description of the palace of Uttanapad, which was thousands and thousands, lakhs of years before. And typically it was in the Satya Yuga. Prabhupada says because Dhruva Maharaj, he ruled the planet for 36,000 years. His lifespan must be 1 lakh years. And that means this pastime is automatically from Satya Yuga. Why? Because from Satya to Treta to Dwapar to Kali, the duration of life will be reduced by 90%. So Satya Yuga, the duration of life was 1 lakh years. Dwapar, it became 10,000. Treta, it became 10,000. Dwapar, it became 1,000. And Kali Yuga, it is 100 years. So this is how, after one duration to another, one yuga to another, the duration is reduced by 90%. Yeah, please continue.
It is
It is
said
said
that
that Dhruva Maharaj, God Mataji.
It is said that Dhruva Maharaj was the great grandson of Lord Brahma. This indicates that Dhruva Maharaja's time was in the Satya Yuga in the beginning of creation. During one day of Lord Brahma, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, there are many Satya Yugas. According to the Vedic calculation, at the present moment, the 28th millennium is current. It can be calculated that Dhruva Maharaj lived many millions of years ago, but the description of the palace of Dhruva's father is so glorious that we cannot accept that advanced human civilization did not exist even 40 or 50,000 years ago. There were walls like those in the palace of Maharaj Uttanapad even very recently during the Mughal period. Anyone who has seen the Red Fort in Delhi must have marked that the walls are made up of marble and were once decorated with jewels. During the British period, all these jewels were taken away and dispatched to the British Museum. The conception of worldly opulence was formerly based mainly on natural resources such as jewel, marble, silk, ivory, gold, and silver. The advancement of economic development was not based on big motor cars. Advancement of human civilization depends on not on industrial enterprises, but on possessions of natural wealth and natural food, which is all supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we may save time for self-realization and success in human form of body. Another aspect of this verse is that Dhruva Maharaj's father Uttanapad would very soon give up attachment for his palaces and would go to the forest for self-realization. From the description of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, therefore, we can make a very thorough comparative study of modern civilization and civilization of mankind in the other millenniums, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga.
Further, Srila Prabhupada explains, Dhruva is the great grandson of Lord Brahma. So no doubt this happened in Satya Yuga, but which Satya Yuga? This is very early beginning of the creation. Beginning of the creation, and that Satya Yuga, this entire pastime must have taken place. So Prabhupada gives the indication that, where this pastime is being happened. So currently the 20th millennium is going on. We know this, right? In our Vittal Aarti also it is like that. Yugi 28 whatever Yubha. So this is the 28th millennium. So Yugi 28 we chant there. And it is Vedas are very clear about, how Lord Brahma is 51-year-old, and what is the day of Brahma is going on, what is the time in Brahma's watch is also very clear. It is somewhere around 12 noon in Brahma's watch. So to that precision, Vedas have given the understanding that what is the entire, where we stand with respect to the creation. Dhruva Maharaj lived many millions of years ago. So therefore, the description of Dhruva may appear very fantastic. But Prabhupada says some glimpses we can see even now also. Like just Prabhupada gives example of the some of the palaces like Hawa Mahal and other palaces in Jaipur. Prabhupada talks here about the Red Fort. Their walls were marble walls, and there were jewels. But when the Britishers came, they stole all the jewels and put it in their British Museum. So when Prabhupada was in British Museum, Prabhupada was in London, and somebody said, Swamiji, have you seen British Museum? Prabhupada said one line. Prabhupada said, British Museum means stolen property, nothing else. Right, that is British Museum. You will know our Kohinoor is also there in the British Museum. And you know who is the real owner of Kohinoor? It is Lord Jagannath. Because Kohinoor was finally with the possession of Maharaj Ranjit Singh. Maharaj Ranjit Singh was such a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. He wanted to present this Kohinoor to Jagannath. And you can read this on as a leftist propagandist website as a Wikipedia also. Just go to history of Kohinoor, and they themselves also write, because it is so clear in the writings, that Kohinoor was actually in the possession. It belonged to Ranjit Singh, and Ranjit Singh handed over to his ministers that my final desire of my life is that this Kohinoor should be given to Jagannath Puri, Lord Jagannath. But somehow things changed. So this is about Kohinoor. You can also go to Wikipedia and find out that the Peshwa Daftar, and how many days Britishers looted Shaniwar Wada and the Peshwa Daftar. And you will find that what kind of wealth Britishers stole from India. Right. So this is, Prabhupada says, British Museum means stolen property. So when Prabhupada was there, immigration officer asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, why you are here? Prabhupada told him that you Britishers, you ruled us for 150 years, you stole everything. But foolishly you forgot our most valuable jewel, that is Bhagavad Gita. I have come to give that Bhagavad Gita to you. So Prabhupada was very sarcastic on British museums. British Museum means stolen property. And in fact, who was he? Somebody, the Cameroon or British Prime Minister. So some of the Indian boys, they approached him and they said that, the Mr. Prime Minister, you should return Kohinoor because it belongs to India. And incidentally, he said like this, he said, if we decide to return all the property like this, what you are demanding, all our museums will be empty. So actually, he also accepted that British Museum means stolen property. But you do visit Wikipedia and search for this Peshwa Daftar Shaniwar Wada and how it was looted by British and then set on fire. And then that's what we see, the remnants of Peshwa, the Shaniwar Wada now. All the woodwork is destroyed, 7-story. And this is how Britishers actually looted India in a very, very big way. Few trillions of dollars is the total loot of British. And anybody who has looted India, they are themselves destroyed. No one can see Afghanistan. All this Khilji and the Somnath attack happened from Afghanistan side. That's a beggar country. And the Portuguese, they looted India, especially the Goans. In the financial terms, these countries are known as pigs, PIGS. P is for Portugal, E for Italy, G for Greece, and S for forgot. Okay. So
Spain, probably.
And Spain, yeah. And anybody that looted India in the past, they are destroyed. Literally destroyed. This is the law of karma, universally, Like even Bible says this. Wheels of God crush slowly but exceedingly fine. So, and this is applicable. So those who are, those people who feel that India, don't worry, Sanatan Dharma is Sanatan Dharma. We do our job as a devotee very well. and the Kala, Samaya, will take its own sweet revenge, the way it is taking currently in England also, the way England is going. Further, Srila Prabhupada describes the conception of the worldly opulence, currently is about the industrial development. But previously it was with the natural resources. So this is the difference. Why? Because the natural resources can be used in self-realization. And Prabhupada says if we can study Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, one can very beautifully make the comparison between all these yugas and how the civilization, progressively finally arrived at Kali Yuga, what we are living in. Text 63. Udyanani charamyani vichitrai amaradrumai pujat vihangamithunaih gayat matta madhuvratai. Translation?
Translation. The king's residence was surrounded by gardens wherein there were varieties of trees brought from the heavenly planets. In those trees there were pairs of sweetly singing birds and almost mad bumblebees, which made a very relishable buzzing sound. Purport. In this verse, the word Amara Drumai, with trees brought from the heavenly planets, is very significant. The heavenly planets are known as Amarloka, the planets where death is very much delayed, because the people there live for 10,000 years according to the calculations of the demigods, in which our 6 months are equal to 1 day. The demigods live in the heavenly planets for months, years, and 10,000 of years according to the demigod time, and then again, after the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down to this earth. These are the statements that can be collected from Vedic literature. As the people there live for 10,000 years, so also do the trees. Of course, here on this earth, there are many trees which live for 10,000 years. So what to speak of the trees on the heavenly planets? They must live for more than they must live for more than many 10,000 of years. And sometimes, as practiced even now, some valuable trees are taken from one place to another. It is elsewhere stated that when Lord Krishna went to the heavenly planets with his wife Satyabhama, he took a Parijata flower tree from heaven and brought it to the earth. There was a fight between Krishna and the demigods due to the Parijata trees being taken from heaven to this planet. The Parijata was planted in the palace of Lord Krishna, which was occupied by Queen Satyabhama. The flower and fruit trees in the heavenly planets are superior, for they are very pleasant and tasteful, and it appears that in the palace of Maharaja Uttanapad, there were many varieties of such trees. Hare Krishna.
So the king's residence was surrounded with gardens, and this garden was very specific. It had varieties of the trees brought from the heavenly planets. And there were sweetly singing birds, and these birds, they were almost maddened bumblebees with a very relishable buzzing sound. Amaradrumaihi, Srila Prabhupada says that Amaradrumaihi are the trees brought from the Amaraloka. And what is that Amaraloka? That is the planet of the demigods. Demigods are also referred as Amara because they have very large lifespan, and therefore they are called as Amara. And then Srila Prabhupada explains what is the lifespan of a demigod. 1 year here is 1 day. 6 months here is 1 day, and then 6 months is 1 night. So 1 day, 1 year, 1 solar year here is 1 day in the heavenly planets. And like this, the demigods will live for 10,000 years. And many, prominent demigods, they will live for full Manvantar. And along with Manu, they also will go to Vilaya. And next set of Manu and demigods will come and rule. So it's a fascinating place, right? And as everything else is fascinating, but there is a price to pay. And what is that price? Price is punya. And when the punya is getting over, tetvam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. And when their credit card, the money is exhausted, their currency of punya is exhausted, martyalokam vishanti. They will come down to the earth planet and again get into this chakra of acquiring more pious activities, getting more punya, again going back, again enjoying life there, again coming back, like that. And after long time, bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. They will come to knowledge and then they will start surrendering to the Supreme Lord, right? By chanting Hare Krishna and reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So this is the potency. This is actually how rare is chanting of Hare Krishna and reading of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So as the things are fascinating, similarly Prabhupada says, even the trees are fascinating in the heavenly planets. And there is an instance that some valuable trees are established from the heavenly planets to earthly planets. And Srila Prabhupada cites the fight between Indra and Lord Krishna, where Satyabhama wanted Parijat tree, and and then Indra was reluctant. He said, no, such a tree cannot go to earthly planet. And then there was a big fight, and somehow Lord Krishna subdued Indra, pleased his wife Satyabhama, and these fruits and these flowers appeared in this world. So such many trees were there in the palace of King Uttanapa. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, Prabhu, I have a small question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we say that Brahma also lives for 100 years, but his time, his calculation. So, do we also think similarly that the demigods also live for 100 years, but in their own calculation, in their years?
Yes.
Because
Something
we say
similar,
10%.
yes. Something similar.
Okay.
Like, so in that way, Dhruva ruled for 36 years. Like that also you can say, because out of 100, 36, out of 1 lakh, 36,000 years. So mathematically we may understand, but actually, the experience wise, it is very difficult to understand because it is in different yuga altogether.
Okay.
Got it. I mean, sometimes from description, there is some understanding, but the experience of that understanding is very different. Like classic example is Mukesh Ambani, his property is 5 lakh crore. By putting numbers, we will 5 ke upar 5 0 becomes 5 lakhs, and uske upar 7 0 becomes 5 lakh crore. So we'll understand the number, but the experience of that 5 lakh crore, we will never understand by simply understanding the number.
Yes.
Right? Barabar hai na? Means, so there is a difference between understanding and experience. And here we just simply understand, frankly understanding it's a long life.
Okay.
So like Mukesh Ambani says, oh, too much of a wealth. That much we will understand. But what that literally means, right? His son is wearing the watch of 40 crores. He gifting his wife some 700 crores aeroplane on 70th, some 60th birthday and all that. These numbers we will understand, but the experience we will not understand. Correct?
Agree.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, thank you, Hare Krishna.